Good evening. On World News tonight, geopolitics alert. Trump wants Iran not to retaliate against Qatar following Israeli attack on gas field. Nordic shift. Iceland's foreign minister said she is optimistic Iceland could join the European Union as early as 2028. Enclosure incursion. A man was arrested after breaking into the viral people Moo Deng's enclosure.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Sitmi Adhikari.
Good evening, and thank you for joining World News Tonight on Aditya News Channel. Tonight we begin in Qatar. Yesterday, US President Donald Trump said that the attack on Iran's South Pars gas field was carried out by Israel and the US and Qatar were not involved in it. Trump said no more attacks would be made by Israel on the gas field. However, Trump warned the US would take action if Qatar was attacked by Iran.
The long-standing peace between Qatar and Iran is over, as the Middle East now enters a dangerous new phase of conflict. Following several strikes on Qatar, President Trump promised on Truth Social that Israel will no longer attack Iran's major South Pars field, and stated that if Iran were to attack Qatar again, the US would retaliate hugely. Trump insisted he did not want to authorize this level of violence and destruction, yet added he would not hesitate to do so if Qatar's liquefied natural gas sites were attacked again. On Wednesday, Israel and the US launched a massive strike on Iran's South Pars gas field, the Iranian side of the massive offshore reservoir shared with Qatar. Tehran's retaliation was immediate, accusing its neighbors of complicity for allowing the use of their airspace. Iran fired 5 ballistic missiles at Qatar. 4 of those missiles were intercepted. The 5th, however, struck Ras Laffan, the world's largest gas hub. Officials report extensive damage to the facility. The economic fallout has been instant. Global energy prices have already spiked to record highs. As analysts warn, this is just the beginning. In a statement, Qatar's foreign ministry condemned the brutal Iranian attack, saying the targeting represented a direct threat to its national security.
The Trump administration is reportedly considering a surge in military reinforcements to broaden its tactical options in the region. This potential build-up signals a shift toward more robust posture as the White House weighs its next move in the escalating Gulf crisis.
The U.S. is considering sending thousands more troops to the Middle East. That's according to U.S. officials who spoke on condition of anonymity. They said the Trump administration is weighing military reinforcements to expand its options. Those options include protecting oil tankers moving through the Strait of Hormuz, which could require deploying troops on Iran's shoreline. Another option could be sending in forces to secure Iran's Karg Island, which handles about 90% of the country's oil exports. But one official warned any such move carried serious risk. Iran can strike Karg in the strait with missiles and drones, and deploying U.S. ground forces could fuel political backlash at home, where public support for the war remains limited. Sources also say the administration has discussed sending forces to secure Iran's enriched uranium stockpiles, a mission experts describe as highly complex and dangerous. A White House official said no decision has been made, but the president is keeping all options open. The Pentagon declined to comment. After initially saying the U.S. Navy could escort vessels, President Trump called on other countries to help open the Strait of Hormuz. But with little interest from allies, he later mused about simply leaving the area for others to defend. Separately, the Washington Post reported Wednesday that the Defense Department has asked the White House to greenlight a request to Congress for more than $200 billion to fund the war in Iran.
Japan's newly elected Prime Minister Shinzo Takahashi faces increasingly complexity in the country's relationship with the US, especially with the recent war with Iran halting the flows of vital oil shipments to Japan.
Japan's Iron Lady, Shinzo Takahashi, is one of the most powerful women in the world right now. A hardline conservative and former heavy metal drummer, Takahashi made history last month with a landslide victory. The country's first female prime minister, she has bonded with President Trump over politics and baseball. But when the Iron Lady meets the U.S. president again at the White House, Takahashi will be walking a tightrope. What was supposed to be an easy visit now has strings attached. President Trump demanding allies like Japan send warships to reopen the Strait of Hormuz before backing off. Legally, Japan can't do much because of its pacifist constitution that limits use of force to self-defense, not to mention lack of public support. Takaichi telling Japanese lawmakers on the trip she will convey what the country, quote, can and cannot do. But Japan also has a near total dependence on oil from the Middle East, and that puts Takaichi in a delicate position. The U.S.-Japan security alliance is a priority to counter growing military threats from China and North Korea. And beyond the war, there are other tensions. The two countries signed a trade deal last year, solidifying 15% tariffs on Japanese goods, including autos, imported to the U.S. And as the Japanese economy expands, coming out of years of sluggish growth, its government bonds are paying more in interest, potentially pulling money away from the long-term safe haven of U.S. treasuries. Takaichi heading into the trip on some shaky footing, literally. About a week ago, video showed her looking unwell and struggling to stand. Her office blamed a cold and canceled meetings. Leaving Tokyo, Takaichi admitted the U.S. visit will be difficult. What was supposed to be a friendly summit, now far more unpredictable.
Activists have delivered 5 tons of medical supplies to Cuba, the first of several shipments aimed at easing Cuba's economic collapse after the U.S. ousted President Nicolás Maduro, a Cuba ally.
Much-needed medical aid arrives in Cuba, delivered by activists. It comes as the country faces a crippling oil blockade enforced by the United States. Members of the aid convoy are critical of the policy.
For me, it's a duty to be here and to support Cuba at this time. There's nothing modern about it. What's happening is a medieval siege. It's the logic of since the castle will not surrender, I will take it by starvation. And that, sincerely, is a crime against humanity. That's why we're here.
50 associations and solidarity groups from a global aid mission have contributed around 5 tons of medical supplies. The boxes contain oncology drugs, antibiotics, and other life-saving treatments. Cuba's health system is suffering due to the fuel shortage, which is just one of the negative consequences affecting ordinary Cubans. Meanwhile, Cuba's diplomatic isolation is growing. Ecuador closed its Cuban embassy earlier this month, and Costa Rica has just made the same move.
We must cleanse the hemisphere of communists. It's that simple. Each country must do it themselves, but we are not going to give legitimacy to the regime that oppresses and tortures almost 10 million Cubans today.
Costa Rica's president is a close ally of Donald Trump. The U.S. president continues to call for a change in Cuba's leadership and has said he can do whatever he wants with the communist island nation.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. Iceland's Foreign Minister Katrín Gunnarsdóttir said she is optimistic her country could join the European Union as early as 2028, adding that she expects fisheries and agriculture to be the toughest points of negotiation with the bloc.
Speaking in a recent interview, the minister revealed that the Icelandic government has proposed a national referendum for August 29 to decide whether to resume accession talks. The road to Brussels, however, remains paved with significant hurdles. Gunnarsdóttir acknowledged the fisheries and agriculture will be the toughest points of negotiation, given their cultural role in Icelandic economy. The minister believes the EU itself stands to gain from the partnership, suggesting that the bloc could learn a great deal from the Icelandic experience in resource management and economic resilience. She maintains that if these core disputes are addressed early, the 2028 timeline remains a realistic goal for the North Atlantic nation. While Iceland is already a founding member of NATO and a participant of the European Single Market and Schengen Zone, the full EU membership would represent a fundamental shift in its geopolitical identity.
Anutin Charnvirakul was re-elected Thailand's Prime Minister after sailing through a parliamentary vote, winning a fresh mandate that could usher a rare period of stability for a country long plagued by political drama and turmoil.
Anutin Charnvirakul has secured a historic second term as Thailand's Prime Minister following a decisive parliamentary vote. The vote was a clear victory for Anutin, who dominated from the opening ballots. He comfortably defeated his primary challenger of the Progressive People's Party. The re-election is a significant milestone in Thai politics. Anutin becomes the first premier in 2 decades to be voted back into office for a consecutive term. It is a remarkable feat in a country where the leadership has frequently been disrupted by judicial rulings and military intervention. In his address to the National Assembly, Anutin pledged to work with all sides of the House, emphasizing that the well-being of the people remains his primary goal. Analysts suggest his success stems from strategic positioning of his party as a stabilizing force between the country's warring political elites. As Southeast Asia's second-largest economy grapples with global energy shocks and regional tensions, the focus now shifts to Anutin's new cabinet. The international community will be watching closely to see if the fresh mandate can indeed translate into the long-term continuity Thailand has sought for 20 years.
Ahead of the second round in mayoral election, a campaign video of candidate Rachida Dati shows her emptying trash cans and climbing into a garbage collection truck, cleaning the Parisian streets.
Paris mayoral candidate Rachida Dati is getting down and dirty. A campaign video shows her emptying trash cans and climbing onto a garbage collection truck. It's all ahead of Sunday's second round in the mayoral election. The former Conservative minister promised voters that the city will be clean again and accused outgoing Mayor Anne Hidalgo of wrecking Paris. And she's tapping into a hot-button issue for residents. A March poll by Ipsos found that 44% of city voters ranked cleanliness as a top issue behind security. Paris currently has about 6,300 cleaning and garbage workers, with roughly 1,800 miles of sidewalks swept each day. Dati says she can make cleaning more effective.
We need to review the way we clean and collect garbage. At the moment, everything is scattered. Those who clean are not the same as the ones who collect. Those who collect the trash aren't the same people who empty the bins. Those who wash the streets aren't the same. So we want coordination, a new organization that ensures that once we've collected the trash and picked up what's on the ground, we clean everything and it's done immediately.
In the first round of elections on March 15th, Dati came second with just over 25% of the vote, behind socialist Emmanuel Gregoire on about 38%. He's vowed to improve waste collection and cut the amount of trash produced. Political analyst Philippe Moreau-Chevrolet says dirt has been a long favorite topic for right-wing politicians in Paris. Citizen body Brigade Verte is not waiting for election results to clean up the streets. Group President Thomas Santoban says individuals need to show responsibility too.
This isn't only a problem for the government or for the municipality. It's everyone's business. It's where we live, where our children play, where our elderly take walks. So it's everyone's business. And at some point, I think we need to reflect on this notion of the common good.
A 2023 EU study showed that Paris residents see their city as dirtier than other major European cities like Rome.
A mother is fighting for life after she was pulled from her burning home in Melbourne's north. Luckily, her 2 teenage children managed to escape through a bedroom window with the help of neighbours and call for aid.
As smoke pours through their Roxburgh Park home, 2 siblings make a daring and desperate escape through a bedroom window.
I was sleeping in the bed. I just heard someone say, "Help, help, help, help."
With their mothers still trapped inside, neighbour Hassan Hamoud tries desperately to save her.
Then we tried to open the door or just to make any access to go in, help her. It was very, very, very bad.
The brother and sister, aged in their late teens, were woken by a smoke alarm around 7:30 this morning, making a frantic call to 000.
Oh, it'd be terrifying. It'd be your worst nightmare trying to work out how to get out.
They tried to get to their mum, but their mum's door was locked and they couldn't get into her.
Firefighters broke through the front door of the Coral Way home, finding the woman in her 40s.
She was unconscious, and I think there was 4 fire brigades or 2 fire brigades that had to physically hold her out and drag her out. And then they got the stretcher on her and then they started doing CPR to her.
She was taken to the Alfred Hospital, where she is fighting for life. her shaken husband by her side. Detectives from the Arson and Explosives Squad scoured the home, focusing their attention to cable ties on the front door. They will continue to investigate the cause of the fire.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. A man has been arrested after he was caught climbing into an enclosure of Moo Deng, the viral pygmy hippo. The Thai man allegedly entered the enclosure while a keeper was away and no other visitors were around.
Tonight, this Thai man is behind bars and facing charges for breaching a zoo enclosure outside Bangkok, where he appears face to face with one of the most famous animals in the world, Moo Deng. The ridiculously adorable pygmy hippo who first gained virality more than a year ago.
She is so adorable.
Drawing throngs of crowds to her Southeast Asian stomping grounds, one of many popular animals that have won our hearts over. Along with Punch the monkey, Pesto the penguin, and those pandas Bao Li and Ching Bao, none of whom have seen a security breach. The unwanted visitor in Thailand jumping into the enclosure when officials were handling evening care for the animals. The director saying the man stayed for a minute or two before staff noticed him and did not attempt to flee while the zoo called police, according to the Associated Press. In a post on Facebook, the zoo adding, based on an inspection by the keeper, Moo and her mom Jonah are unharmed, but they may have been slightly alarmed by the encounter with an outsider. But despite this incursion,
so cute, very cute.
The internet's favorite animal is back to what she does best, making people smile.
A suspect jumped into a river during a police pursuit, prompting cops to chase him on paddle boards. The suspect was later charged with loitering. In a separate incident, a police officer jumped onto the hood of a passing car while chasing a suspect.
Hey! It's one of the wildest police pursuits you'll ever see.
White male, blue shirt, white shorts.
The suspect jumps into a river and cops chase him on paddle boards. When they reach the 26-year-old suspect, he's exhausted and struggling to stay afloat. It happened near Daytona Beach. The quick-thinking deputy sheriffs handcuffed the suspect to a flotation device while he's still in the water, and then wrap a second device around his waist. Then they haul him up on a board. There's no way this guy's getting away again. The charge? Loitering. And this breathless cop is running after a suspect who's on a mini bike, and he's getting away. So the cop jumps on the hood of a passing car. The officer holds on for dear life as he and the civilian behind the wheel give chase. When they catch up to him, the Oklahoma City cop leaps off the hood like Batman and brings the guy down. The teenager's alleged offense wasn't quite as dramatic as the chase, riding his mini bike without headlights.
What a great outstanding citizen. He gave me a ride.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes of seeing you again, I'm Sitmi Adhikari. We leave you tonight with the visuals of our universe captured through the James Webb Telescope. Do share your feedback with us via email at feedback.adncenglish@deran.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on Other Deran News Channel. Have a wonderful night.